Good morning, y'all. It's a little bit past 8 o'clock. I've been up all night and kind of dozed off, so if my voice is kind of weird and my eyes are kind of like, bleh, it's because I'm tired. And if it sounds a little different, I'm using my iPhone corded headphones, earbuds. If you're wondering why I'm not using the wireless, I don't like that stuff by my head, so that like radio frequencies and things like that are going through my brain, and Bluetooth frequencies give me a brain tumor. So I'd rather have the corded thing. So sorry if you're wondering why I'm not so technologically advanced. There are reasons. Um, but anyway, uh, I wanted to talk about an event that's happening tomorrow. I'm into astronomy, and and we have a pretty serious event that's happening tomorrow. Pretty sick, awesome, cool event that's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to have a total eclipse of the heart. No, a total eclipse of the sun when the moon is passing in front of it. So if I'm the sun and the moon passing in front of me, it's going to be blocking my face. So that's kind of what's going to be happening. The moon's going to block the sun's light in many parts of the United States. It's going to be like, I don't know how this video is going to be oriented on your viewing, but if this is your left and this is your right, and this is Alaska and this is like let's say Georgia in the United States, the sun is going to pass through. I don't know if it's going to be Georgia or South Carolina or whatever, wherever the eclipse ends, but it's going to pass, cut through, bisect the United States kind of like this in a diagonal line, and it's going to go through many states. And if you're along that line, you're going to see a total eclipse. Pretty interesting stuff. And as a result, a lot of people are going to be heading to those areas that are along that path. If you're not in that specific path, you're not going to see the total eclipse. You'll see a partial eclipse. As you get further away from that line, it's going to be less and less of a total eclipse for you. So like me in California, I plan on staying in California because I don't want to get into the mix of a whole bunch of people who are going to be all crowding into that area. So California is going to probably be about a 60% eclipse, which means I'm going to see a little bit of the sun's crescent light peeking around the silhouette of the moon, which is fine with me. That's still phenomenal. I don't have to have the land go completely dark for me to be wowed by it. I can always look on YouTube to see it or something like that. Just remember, don't look directly at the sun, ever. Thing burns your retina, and you'll be blind. And the reason eclipses tend to burn your retina more than the normal times is because people don't really look at the sun normally. They look at the sun during eclipse. So, but it's the same rays that are coming at you from the sun, and they will burn your retina. So don't just stare at the sun. Don't be a nincompoop and burn your eyeballs out. So anyway, I'm into numerology, and I think that's great. As a Catholic, a lot of my Catholic friends are going to be like, what are you talking about? That stuff's bad. No, there's numerology throughout the Bible. You can see it. The number 12, number 3. Number 3 refers to the Trinity. Number 12 refers to the 12 tribes of Israel. 7 is a number of perfection, so you'll see it with the 7 trumpets, 7 candlesticks, 7 seals. You'll see the number 4 for death and learning, and you'll see like the 4 horsemen, and so anyway, things like that. So numerology to me is not bad unless you're using it for like telling the future, or you're using it to hurt somebody else, to curse them, things like that. That's when numerology gets bad, because you're trying to bring yourself the glory, the power, and all the stuff that are actually supposed to go to God. So that's when numerology is bad, and that's also the same for, like, to me, with astrology. Since I like astronomy, I'm also fascinated by astrology. Astrology has to do with your personality and the times that you're born, the positions of the planets, the stars, the sun, the moon, and the earth, all affect your personality when you're born. And I actually believe that to be very, very true. Why? A thing called gravity. And this is what I'm going to get into, why tomorrow is significant. And I'm going to give a little forecast of what I think is going to happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, but I want to have people think about it and perhaps maybe change some of their behavior before this eclipse, and maybe make some decisions about what they're going to do tomorrow. But there's a thing called gravity. Now, some subscribe to this flat Earth theory. I don't subscribe to that because I believe in gravity. Gravity is, well, actually, let me go back. There's something like, let's say you have the smallest parts of any matter, like atoms, okay, that retain the same kind of behaviors as the larger parts of the same kind of composition of matter. But let's say you have two types of atom that are the same. They attract each other. That's a cohesion. That's an attractive force called cohesion. It brings them together. And that's how bonds are formed to make elements and compounds and bigger pieces of matter that we can see, feel, touch, taste, smell, all the above here. But you have two different types of atom. You'll have adhesion, where they come together. But anyway, there's this force that brings them together. And as things get bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more dense, they start to develop this force of attraction called gravity. It's why we don't fall off of the earth, even though we're not physically attached to it. You know, you can walk because you're not like rooted in the ground and you have to rip out your feet from the ground and then replant them and rip it out. No, you can freely walk on the ground, and you have weight where you step on a scale, and unfortunately for some people it's a heavy weight. But anyway, I believe in gravity, and no one really knows what gravity is yet. They can't explain it. They haven't studied it well enough to explain it. But there are some theories, and I kind of believe some of the theories, that it's a corkscrew force that passes through people, and the way it passes through people, it's as it's turning, it brings the things, or people and things, as it passes through people and things, and it's turning and turning, it's screwing, it brings people closer to the source of that force. So in the situation that we're experiencing tomorrow, we have the sun is a huge sized planet with lots of gravity. How do you know we have lots of gravity on the sun? Because there are all these little planets that are stuck swirling around it. They don't fly away from it. They're stuck in these tracks. The moon also has gravity. How do I know? At night, you go to the ocean and you have a full moon over it. You'll see the tides are affected by the moon. You'll get a high tide at night when the moon's over it. So if the gravity of the moon can affect the level of the ocean pulling up onto the shore, just imagine what the gravity from all these planets and stars and all these things pulling on you can do to your personality when you're born. And this is why I believe in astrology. I don't believe in horoscopes. Horoscopes cannot tell your future. They can tell who you are now, but they can't tell you what you're going to do in the future or how things are going to be in the future. I don't believe that. There may be someone who might be able to read the planets and positions and all that stuff enough to be able to do that, but I wouldn't even subscribe to that, because that, to me, is divination, and again, that's against my religion. So, and if you want to bring that against me also, I'll bring you another example in the scriptures of how astrology was used in a holy way. You have three men that travel across a vast distance to see a baby born in a manger who is prophesied to be a king of all kings and a bringer of peace to the world, who's born underneath a star that's supposed to be in the east. They're supposed to follow that star. So they used astrology and astronomy, because astronomy was the knowing of the star, the charting of the star, knowing where its path is going to be, knowing its position above a certain place, and then the astrology was the prophecy of the king to come when that star is in that position. So that's astrology and astronomy together. All right, so anyway, I follow this guy named Jim Birkeland in the past. So he talks about the gravity of planets pulling on the tectonic plates of the earth and causing earthquakes. So what I believe is going to happen, because he's been pretty accurate, there's no way for me to question that. I haven't actually heard him say anything about the eclipse tomorrow, but just based upon, I don't even know if he's still alive, because I believe he was older when I was listening to him, but based upon the things that I learned from him, when you're going to get the sun and the moon coming over your position and they line up, now you got all this gravitational force concentrated on one place. So if you happen to go stand on that line that's bisecting the United States, and there are a whole bunch of people that are going to go and crowd in there so they can see this total darkness, and then you got all that gravitational force on you. Look at what's going on in Charlottesville. Look at what's going on in Boston. Look at what went on last night in Texas. All these rallies for free speech, and then the counter protests, and the very bad things that have resulted out of those things. There's a tectonic tension between people right now. It's political. And I believe the United States is actually a communist nation now, and we've been conned into thinking it was a republic. And as a Republican, that makes me sick to think about that. But the reality of it is, when I look around and I see how people are afraid to do certain things, they can't, people are not able to make money the way they used to. They can't start businesses easily. Everyone's in debt, and the government regulates business so heavily, and they regulate your speech, and everything is so regulated. There's no choice for us to be a communist country, because in a free country, you wouldn't have that. You'd be free, right? And a lot of stupid people are subscribing to it. So it tells me the same thing I saw in history in the Soviet Union. I was young when the USSR existed. Today it's Russia, because the USSR collapsed, because socialism and communism always collapses, and dummies cannot figure that out. They don't understand that when you take money from the people who make money, if you don't know how to make money, you just know how to spend it. And those people who make the money know how to make it and save it, and you take it from them, then nobody has money. It's all spent, and it's all wasted and used for stupid stuff. So that's what happens in socialism. You just take money from everybody, and socialism is Robin Hood. You rob the rich to give to the poor, and they don't like the republicanism where they're saying you rob the poor to give to the rich. How can you rob the poor? They're poor. So that's the stupidest ideology and excuse for why you should be socialist. And if you follow that, man, you really need to knock yourself on the head and figure out what's going on. But anyway, you can get all these psycho people, stupid people, lined up to see the sun disappear. And you got all that gravitational force on them, affecting their personalities and causing the tensions between the tectonic plates to shift and release and make an earthquake, and you got big problems. So I foresee some big problems. This is probably why all the government agencies are saying that they need to prepare for some disaster. Now, that may not be true, but I still think that there's going to be some kind of earthquakes resulting, or volcanic activity resulting from this sun and moon alignment passing across the United States. Now, the other thing I haven't thought about until now is the Yellowstone supervolcano. This is a known fact. There's a super volcano under Yellowstone Park. It's called a super caldera. If that thing blows, look out. We got big problems. And we've been having a lot of swarms of earthquakes, little earthquakes throughout that region. Thousands and thousands of them, which usually indicates some kind of geomagma activity underneath the earth. That's a problem, because the caldera hasn't exploded in a long time, and it's probably due. And now you got these two forces passing right over it. Holy moly, I didn't even think about that. My goodness, I probably should pull my money out of all my assets tomorrow just to see what happens and go to cash completely. Just to see what happens, because I didn't even think about that. That could be a problem tomorrow. And doing this video, I just thought about that. That's a major, major issue. And we're starting to go into the colder months of the year. And like I've been noticing, the markets have been following the weather. Whenever the weather gets kind of bad, I see, or at least the weather here, whenever the weather gets bad, I see the markets go down. When the weather is really bright and sunny, and the markets are just shooting up. And we're getting into winter. And a lot of the movies talk about winter. I mean, you got Game of Thrones, winter is coming. You've got the Planet of the Apes, it's like winter season there. It's always this winter stuff that the movies, the government, they're talking climate change, all this stuff. I think they know the reality of what's going on, but they don't want to tell you what the reality is. They're going to code it in these names like climate change, global warming, things like that. But the reality of it is the sun is actually dipping in its intensity. So it's not going to be as hot as it used to be. And we're kind of seeing that right now with these solar flares and coronal mass ejections and things like that. It's showing us that it's going to sputter for a little bit and then go out a little bit. Still be there, but it'll be covered. And so we're going to see massive weather change happen, but not in the way because it's carbon dioxide created and man produced. That's total garbage. It's all related to the sun. They're not telling you that. So we all need to prepare for that. So I think the market's going to crash because of that. I also think that our food production is going to go down because of that. So there are a lot of astronomical events that are coming that all along I've been telling everybody to prepare for. And so it's up to you to if you're going to do that. Now, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, but it's still related. I like to watch this Disney show, and it's actually a Marvel comic that because Disney owns it, they're producing it now. It's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I've been noticing that when the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. come out with a show or a type of topic that it impacts the entire season, you tend to see that happen in reality in the world. So it's almost like they're forecasting it, or the people who watch it copy the art and actually do it. However, there was a season where they did turmoil within the agency of S.H.I.E.L.D., where there's a bad guy organization called Hydra that gets into the agency of S.H.I.E.L.D. and infiltrates it, and they have lots of agents that pretend to be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and then there's corruption, and it turns around and you see S.H.I.E.L.D. fall. And that was the beginning of the Captain America movie, Civil War. Actually before that, Winter Soldier was actually the culmination of the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., and pretty much everyone's confused now that Hydra has this superhero bad guy, and then we have, or super bad guy, super villain, and then you have a superhero Captain America has to fight that. Then you have Civil War, where then the good guys are turned against each other because they're all kind of like their ideologies separate them. So we're kind of seeing that Civil War in the United States going on, and it kind of matches perfectly. Well, in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the last episodes of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were about these clones. This almost reminds me also of Star Wars, which is also Disney owned, where they had the Clone Wars, where there was a period of time where they were mass producing people that seem like they're on your side, and you go out and they go fight wars, and then they turn on you, and they basically killed a lot of the Jedi, and which leads up to the Star Wars episodes of today, where we're talking about the Last Jedi now with Luke and Rey, which is going to be coming in Christmas. But anyway, the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been about these clones that they've been making called LMDs, or life module decoys or something like that. And at the very end, it's about this computer that these two scientists in S.H.I.E.L.D. create. She's like a personal assistant. It's a woman robot. And they try to make her so lifelike. And then she starts reading this alien technology. And she becomes almost lifelike, but she's still a robot. So she has the intellect of a human or a living being, but she doesn't have the sensations and the emotions of a living being. So she has this drive to try to become human. And at the end, there's this technology. We're getting this in a lot of the Marvel comics now. They're actually focusing on these, where you're getting interdimensional. You'll see it in the Ghost Rider. You'll see it in Doctor Strange. You'll see it in a lot of these things where they're going interdimensionally now. They're using this circular power to be able to go from one place to the other through this portal. I see that they're doing that in reality with CERN. But at the end of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This last season, they have technology that is able to print. I don't know if it's even print. It's able to generate life tissue and bone, so that she goes into a parallel universe to trick one of the SHIELD scientists to create this technology, so that she can send the information on how to do the real technology in this world, so that she can create a human lifelike body for herself, and then she can basically upload her programming into the real body, and she can be a human. Very fascinating storyline, very deep concept, and I enjoy it watching that show. But I also have to keep in account that a lot of the movie people are Satanists and they're Luciferians and basically against my religion. So I watched a lot of these things so I can see kind of what they're doing, but it's also fascinating to see the story plots. Well, I believe that they're probably forecasting technology like that. They've forecasted in fact, interesting, one of their characters is named Quake. So we have these quakes that are going on, and I believe we're going to have Quake tomorrow with this solar solar eclipse. So, but that kind of leads into this technology where they print things that become real and create life for things that are not living. And this has always been my philosophy from long ago. I have it in a few other videos that I've done in the past, where I talk about that we have this culture of technocracy, or these technologically advanced people, that they're so into technology, but they're not loving people. They're just like emotionless. They're like robots. But I believe that they worship Satan, and that they're trying to make technology so that eventually someday they can bring him from the spirit world, which most people don't believe in anymore. They don't even believe in God. They can bring him from the spirit world and embody him into the real world. And we're seeing that also, that they're trying to program people into accepting Satan or Lucifer as a good guy. They even have a show, Lucifer, where he's like the hero. God, that boggles my mind. That blows my mind that people would actually accept Satan as a good guy. And that's what scriptures always have warned us about in the past. It talks about how Satan comes robed in light, or clothed in light. He's wearing light. His name even means light, light bearer. Luz is light. Even Spanish people know luz, L-U-Z, light. Ifer in Greek is bearer, or ofer, like Christopher. I am Christ bearer. Hopefully, I'm able to bear Christ to you in a way that you accept him. But that's on you. I'm not going to force anything on you. And Jesus never forced anything on people. He said, you either follow me or you go on your own way. So we're going to see a passing away of the things we knew, the old, and a transition to something new. And it may not, the Bible also says there's nothing new under the sun. So whatever has existed before is going to exist again. What to us is new was probably existed sometime before even recorded history, and we don't even know about it. And we're going to find out. Our life is going to transition. So if the sun is getting colder, we're going to have less food. So we got to figure out how to grow food or provide food for ourselves. And maybe that technology will do that. It will print the food that we need using the components that make food and the nutrients that make food today in the living world. The digital world will be able to produce that. And also, the Mark Zuckerberg talks about the Internet of Things. Well, I have a feeling we're getting into that technologically advanced era where they're going to start using the cryptocurrencies. This is where I'm starting to realize they're going to start using the cryptocurrencies to represent the physical things on this earth. In the past, we used to back our dollar with gold. So if you put a piece of paper dollar on the table, it's basically as good as putting a piece of gold on the table, a small fraction of the gold, which represented that dollar. Well, now they're going to use those cryptocurrencies for the same thing. They're already backing cryptocurrencies with real estate and agricultural land, and they have some silver and gold cryptocurrencies that are backed. So I think we're going to go to that in the future. So cryptocurrencies is the new way. The dollar is going to die. So be prepared. There's some really astronomical shifts that are going to be occurring. And I don't know if it's going to be set off by tomorrow, or if we've already been going on that path. I've already been talking about it for years. So just be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. So, but the caldera thing's got me thinking. So you got to start preparing for cold weather. Got to start preparing for less sun, more rain. Some people think more rain is better for plants. That's only if there's sun. You need all the components for photosynthesis. And if you're only getting one of the components or two of the components and not all the others, photosynthesis doesn't happen. So you need the sunlight, you need the water and the carbon dioxide, and you get the photosynthesis. But if we're not going to have sun, because the sun is starting to go into a solar minimum, watch out. Your food is going to be a problem. And so we're going to be a lot skinnier too. And if it's going to get colder and you're skinnier, you're going to need warm clothes. So I think we're going to shift into, like, if you look at the Lord of the Rings types movies, or those winter movies like the Game of Thrones, when winter is coming, their clothes are changing. They're wearing furrier stuff, thicker outfits to keep their body temperature in so they stay warm and don't freeze to death. And also finding food again. So the food's going to be for the very wealthy. So if you're a farmer and you can figure out how to grow with minimal light, or at least minimal sunlight, you're going to be rich. So the farmers are going to be the future if they can figure out how to grow. And mostly hydroponics is the way I see it. That's why marijuana, I think, is being legalized, so that people... I'm starting to think more and more while I'm doing this. Video is getting longer because I'm starting to think about things as I'm talking about it. And it's starting to make more sense why they're legalizing marijuana everywhere, because hydroponics comes, or was perfected by the marijuana industry. They figured out how to grow these plants indoors. And now if they make it legal for us to grow these plants everywhere, more and more people are going to have hydroponic setups indoors in their homes and things like that. So that when it comes to the time when the sun goes out and you need to grow food, you're going to be able to grow your food indoors in a hydroponic setting. So I always said marijuana, I look at the marijuana industry as something to invest in. And now I see it even more so, realizing that's going to probably become part of the food industry. And which is going to be interesting, because how will we generate energy without the sun? Because a lot of our energy comes from the sun. That's going to be interesting. The sun's energy is stored in all other forms of energy. So that's something that I'm going to have to figure out. But anyway, tomorrow's the day. Anyway, I'm going to cut it short. I want to thank everybody who's brought me up to 300 followers on Steemit. I want to thank everybody who's following me on YouTube, Facebook. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're seeing me for the first time, hit that notification bell so that it has a little quotation marks around it, so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I intend to post a lot more videos this week because I've been lagging on it. And again, thank you. Please upvote, re-steam my stuff on Steemit, and continue to follow me and recommend me on Facebook. So observe what's going on here and see if what I'm saying is true. A lot of times I nail it. Some of the time I'm only 80% right. This one I feel pretty confident on. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm just letting you know that's my commentary and forecast. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so if you decide to invest based upon the things that I've said, you cannot sue me or hold me responsible for whatever losses you make. If you make any money and you want to credit me, great. I always appreciate that. I have links on my Steemit account and on YouTube to my Bitcoin Dash accounts. If you want to send me money, we can talk about my PayPal, but I don't post that up there. And I wish you all a good week. But again, I'm going to post a new video probably by either later today or tomorrow, talking about some of the other things I couldn't fit into this long video. But you guys have a good one. Take care.